There are more than 60 peace walls separating nationalist and unionist communities in Northern Ireland. But unlike the Berlin Wall that came down 20 years ago, they're there because people want them. It's the only way they feel safe in a divided and sometimes violent society. 11 years after the Good Friday Agreement, the reality on the ground remains one of distrust and fear. These walls are not about to come down.
You couldn't sleep in your bed at night for maybe somebody coming over the fence and your car being wrecked or windows being broke.
When we got the go-ahead for the fence was going up, we had to have a sigh of relief.
Caroline and Mary don't want to be identified. They and their neighbours fear retaliation. At the end of a small suburban garden, a steel barrier almost 8 metres high. After petrol bombs and stones, it's what the residents of this part of Belfast requested, and they still don't feel really safe.
Sometimes scary. You know, you're scared to come out of your house at night. You don't want to go to the shops, fear of attack.
The difference between the 60 or so barriers in Northern Ireland and those in Berlin or Cyprus is that the locals want them. Clewen Place, for instance, a unionist enclave in a largely nationalist area, has seen a lot of violence. Flags and loyalist symbols abound. The communities like to show where their allegiances lie, but living in a place like this requires more than mere flag waving.
Houses were repeatedly burned, so the houses that are now built here have fire retardant and fireproof roofs. They've got windows that, they're not bulletproof, but they're pretty close. And they enjoy the security, and I use the word carefully, enjoy the security that this fence, that's the topic of our discussion, provides.
The murals almost define Belfast. More recent ones are less militaristic, but older ones persist, like these along the Newtonards Road. Behind, the cranes of the Harland and Wolff shipyard that once employed 34,000. It's where the Titanic was built, the locals proudly tell you, perhaps an appropriate symbol for this city. Richard Watson runs a small shop close to where two unionist and nationalist areas meet. He serves customers from both communities, and he believes the hostile attitudes that prevailed during the Troubles are changing, but very slowly.
Before the Troubles, they used to get along together, and some of them still do now. I'll give an example. An elderly woman would come in, and maybe she's 80-odd years old, and she remembers someone from the shore, someone she was growing up with, and they both will actually, oh, how are you doing, have a wee chat, and that sort of stuff. Now, it happened frequently, but not often enough.
Tourists from out of town come to see the murals. Often they add comments of their own, but many locals don't like that. Under one well-meaning platitude, someone wrote, "Get your own wall." They don't believe outsiders understand, and they're probably right. Alexandra Park was once in a prosperous part of Belfast, home to several wealthy Jewish families. Israel's 6th president, Chaim Herzog, was born nearby. Now a wall cuts the park in two. Youngsters on both sides learn hatred from older siblings and friends. Fewer than 3% attend mixed-faith schools. There are political moves to take down the walls, but it'll be a long process.
I know from a community perspective, the most important thing that we're stressing is that people need to gauge and prioritise that the most important people in this process will be the people who live in and around and beside those walls, because it's their fear that has to be managed, as well as the physical removal of the walls.
As a nationalist, Conor Maskey admits to having got involved in what he calls recreational violence when he was younger. Jim Potts was a committed unionist and spoke for them during a violent dispute over access through Protestant Upper Ardoyne to the nearby Holy Cross Catholic School in 2001. Now he works for peace alongside Conor Maskey.
First and foremost, we want peace, but I think to treat each other with equality and respect in the things that we do to move forward is the foundation of, hopefully, the work that our children will pick up.
Belfast is becoming more prosperous since the Troubles ended and the power-sharing government of the DUP, Sinn Féin and other parties took control. Everywhere new buildings are going up, older ones are being renovated and the signs of the bad old days are being removed. It's a cleaner, brighter city, but away from the centre the streets appear oddly empty. The recent upsurge of crime and violence is blamed on former paramilitaries, while today's terrorists for the most part lack popular support, but that doesn't mean the walls will come down soon.
I think it will happen someday, and I think it should happen someday, but I don't think it's going to happen overnight at all.
A natural demographic shift has seen the nationalist community grow while unionist numbers have decreased. As a result, nationalist families have been moved into what were once unionist areas. It's where they meet that trouble flares. There's virtually no popular demand for these peace walls to be removed because the people living near them want them to stay.
These walls are required, sadly required, in order to give the local residents a semblance of peace and security.
Definitely, we don't want the fence to go. We don't have a buffer zone here. We are actually back-to-back housing here. So we don't have any security at all. And definitely, the fence enables us to be able to live in our homes.
Down at Hallidays Road in hardline Tigers Bay, it's 5:30. That's when this gateway closes. Locals might make light of it, but it's where communication at street level ends.